gonna make a vintage Halloween sign. This is super, super easy. This is a beginner crafter project. These are little thrifted, they're magnets actually. They're like a material, like a stuffed material and fabric. This is a little metal sign that came in a 3-pack from Dollar Tree, and I had spray painted it and used it on a project last year. This is a thrifted sign that I had hand lettered to use on my coffee bar, and I've used it for several years now, so it's time to give it new life. We're going to use it for something else. Just wipe all the dust away when you do that. Then I'm going to cut down some scrapbook paper. Use whatever you like. You can even use wrapping paper. I'm going to trim it down so that it fits inside of my frame. I think that the colors work well with this. A little bit of a glue stick, and that's going to hold it in place in that frame on that sign. Then I'm just going to take my little wallpaper tool here and just lay that down just like that. And then decide which one of these little fabric pieces I want to have in my frame. And I really like the cat and the full moon. That looks cute together. So a little hot glue quickly, because this dries super fast, and just pop that on. If you want it to be permanent, you need to use something like E6000 or super glue or some type of epoxy to make yours stay down, because these will eventually pop off. Alright, and once that's down, I'm going to add a little bow. I'm just going to use some of the lighter orange and the black and just tie a really simple bow here. Just like that, and it's just a little double bow. And pull that out and fix it how you want it to look. It's very easy to work with this. And then decide where I want to put my little bow, and I think I'm going to make it look like a bow tie underneath my little pumpkin here. Close enough. And a little candy corn embellishment. How's that? Not bad at all. You can certainly do this. Okay, now for the next project. This is the vintage Halloween mini garland. We're going to use some thin black ribbon, some ornaments from Dollar Tree, and the rest of my little pieces here. I did leave out the witch because her colors did not match what I had going on, so she's to the side for another project. You're going to cut a couple of pieces of jute to make some little loops to go on the back of each one of these pieces, and that's going to be like a little hanger. You don't have to do this if you don't want to use a hanger, because I do later end up having to glue it down to make it stay in place. But it works. It works until I get everything where it needs to be. Alright, so I'm going to start off with a little black glittery ornament. Then I'm going to add the cat, and then an orange ornament, and then another one, and you can see I've got a pattern. Got a little pattern going here. Then when I know about how long I want it to be, I'm going to tie a knot over that black ornament in the bottom. Now we're going to make some little tassels. I'm going to make 3 loops in this. Same thing as you've already seen me do on the other stuff. It's old news by now. You are a professional at making these things. This is going to be a little bit of a variation. You make it the same way, but it's going to be tied down, and then we're going to make the tassel out of it. So I just put it all together, trimmed it up to make sure that it was nice and even on the bottom. Now I'm just going to tie it onto that piece of string. Tie one of those between each one of the ornaments. Then I'm going to take another piece of the raffia, go down about a ½ inch to an inch, and then tie a knot right there. And there we have a little tassel. You can take a little dot of hot glue and press that down and make that little tie become part of your tassel. And you can see here, that's what I've done here. Otherwise, it wants to fluff out. Tie that on. And this is going to be a cute little short garland that you could use on your coffee bar. You could use this on a tiered tray. You could use this on maybe even like your vanity mirror or a bathroom mirror, maybe in a kid's room on maybe a dresser mirror or something like that. It's just a little garland for a small place that I think has a big impact. It's very festive looking. Now I'm just trying to make sure that my tassels are about the same size. And then once I get them where I want them to be, and I know how much spacing I need, I'll go ahead and glue them down. And so that's what you see me doing there. I'm just gluing down the ornaments, the garland, and the little cloth pieces. Just like that. It's very inexpensive and pretty easy to make. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel if you are not already subscribed, to have every one of you here. I appreciate the comments, the support, the love every time you share a video. Do you like vintage? I've got some more coming. Okay, easiest one we got, our Deadly Delight jar. This is a jar that I thrifted and I put just a decal on several years ago. I'm going to use some more of that batting. You can get all kinds of rub-on decals, by the way, at Dollar Tree. I'm going to put that batting on the inside. I have a little bag of creatures. This came from Dollar General a few years ago. I like to buy these things for the kids so that they can do projects and that we can make goodie bags for Halloween at school. So I've just picked out all the black ones because that's kind of the theme we're going with in here. And I'm going to place some of them down in that batting or that fluff. Just like that. Here and there and on the outside and sitting on top. And it's going to look sort of like this. Then we're going to take one of these little lights from Dollar Tree, pull the tab out of the bottom and turn it on. And it's going to look just like that. I'm going to make a little hole. I'm just using my fingers and the back of my little spatula here. And I'm going to turn that light back on and poke it down as far as I can get it in there. Cover the top, cover it up with a spider, and put the lid back on it. And then we're going to have a little spooky Deadly Delight jar that's glowing. It looks better when the light's off, believe me. It's going to require a little wooden block or breadboard and some stickers from Dollar Tree. You're also going to need some paint and some paper, stuff like that. But this is what we're going to start with. I'm going to start by taking off the tag on the back. Be sure you take all that stuff off. And then I'm going to use kind of a coarse grit sanding paper to get around the edges. I got this little breadboard at Goodwill and it had very rough edges, kind of splintery. So I wanted to clean all that off and then, of course, afterwards, wipe all the dust away so it doesn't interfere with the rest of your products sticking down, like your paint and your glue and stuff like that. Okay, so now I'm going to choose a sticker. I want this to go on a little coffee bar section in my house, so I chose these stickers because I thought they would be really cute. Now this is just a little paper pad that originally comes from Target, and I got it at not at Dollar Tree, at Dirt Cheap. I'm going to mix two paints to try to get the right color here, so I'm going to take an orange and try to match that pumpkin as close as possible. I didn't quite get it, I'll just, spoiler alert, but it's close enough. So I'm just mixing it up with a little wood stick in my cup here, and I'm just going to start laying this on just to the top of this block. I don't completely coat the sides, but you can go ahead and do that if you want to. I'm going to be sanding a little bit more shortly, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't take too much paint away. Alright, so we're going to trace out how much paper we need to cover up a portion of the bottom, and we're going to put it on with a glue stick. This used to be purple, but I've had it for some time now. Bought it on clearance a long time ago, and the purple has faded, but the adhesiveness is still good. It still works perfectly. So this is not a perfect fit, and that is not a problem. I'm going to press from the inside outward, just like I always do. And you can see how it overhangs the edges here. And I'm just going to take my sanding block and just sand down and away. And this is going to take the edge off, the excess off, give you a nice clean finish. Just like that. Now you can go back over with your paint and finish up any part that you want to finish. I didn't quite mix up enough, but I used what I had. All right, so I love this one because I know when I get up in the mornings, I want my coffee before anything else. And he looks so tired. So we're gonna put him down here. I'm just trying to find a spot that I think looks good. And I know I want to use a couple of these stickers. So I'm going to put the little cup on here and press it down once I know that that's where I want them to be. And then I'm going to take the little bat sticker. A couple of options of where it could go, but I think the top's going to be cute. And then I'm going to embellish it with a little bit of my jute cord and wrap it around back. I'm going to start my glue on the back side so it's nice and clean in the front. A little bit of hot glue, press that down in there. And then just wind it around the board. It's going to overlap the paint and the paper area there. Just like that. No rhyme or reason. You can use any type of trim that you want to use, or you don't have to use anything at all. You could use a pretty ribbon or colored cords, anything like that if you'd like. So this is a little bow I had made earlier. Showed my mother how to make a bow. We were working on our bows. So I already had it and I'm going to use it right over here on the side. Now this is pressed down and I'm going to take that same sandpaper and just go back over and take the edge off so you can see the wood underneath. It's just going to give it the rustic look that I enjoy in my home, but you certainly can leave this part out if you would like. This sign has two sides. Got a little damage. I had done a previous project. As you can see here, I had pumpkins on there. And it's time to give it some new life. I'm going to just take my little chippy brush here and my Rust-Oleum white chalk paint and go over this area nicely. Going to give it a pretty good coat and then let it dry. Once it is dry, we're going to use these napkins. I think it probably came from like Dollar General or someplace like that originally, but you can find Halloween napkins anywhere. This print was something very pretty. I like this. If you tear the paper on the edge above the little polka dot line there, there's like little perforations that hold it together. If you tear right above that, you can easily pull your two layers apart. So there's a little tip for you if you're having problems separating the 2-ply napkins. And it'll come right apart. Just be careful with it. It's very, very thin. I'm going to take some matte Mod Podge, put that down on my board. I don't want to use too much, so I'm just going to use a little at a time and add where needed so that I can get my layer of napkin down without tearing it. If you get it too wet, it will tear on you. I don't want that to happen, so I'm just going to carefully place it over where I think I want it. And you can see I'm just pressing down where the lines were, the folds in the napkin. And you do this the same way. You're just going to press down and very gently rub that from the inside outward, and you'll press any bubbles that you have right on out of there. Be careful. Don't worry so much about wrinkles if you get one or two, because if you start trying to lift this up, it's going to be a mess. Now I'm just very gently using this little tool to help me make sure that it's nice and flat. And then I'm going to gently just hold and press down, and it'll help the edges come away. It's not going to give you a perfect finish yet, but that's not a concern because we are going to fix that. I strive to make all of my projects look high-end, so I'm always trying to give you little tips along the way so that you can do the same. Very gently with a sanding block that has seen probably better days. I'm going to just go down and away from, and I didn't let this dry yet, so this is still damp, but I didn't put a lot of glue, so it's not too bad. And then you get a nice finished look there. I've gone ahead and sanded the black bottom all around the high points so that it has the kind of a rusted look. And I'm going to do the same thing to that pole that's holding it up, that little stem there. I'm going to rough it up a bit, and it'll be ready once we get it together. Now, Dollar Tree has these gorgeous journaling cards. All they are there are 2 pieces of paper that have a bunch of different tags and pictures on them. And I'm just going to choose one that I like. And this one, I really, really like the font and the shape of this. I'm going to cut out as close as I can to the black line. Just trimming it out there. These are not stickers, so you're going to have to cut if you use these. And we're going to make a little 3D sign right on top of this. I can accomplish that by using a Jenga block. This is a larger of the Jenga blocks. It's bigger than what I got at Dollar Tree, but it doesn't matter. But you can use the ones from Dollar Tree if that's what you have. And I like the space that it takes up so that it lifts it far away from the sign, and you'll see in a moment that it creates a lot of shadow and interest around there, and I like that. So I'm going to just take my hot glue, put that down on there. Be sure that your decoupage is dry. Make sure that everything is dry before you do this, or it'll just most likely peel it straight off of there. Just pressing it down, and this is what the first side is going to look like. Number 5 is a simple card sign. You go to Dollar Tree, you pick one of their beautiful seasonal cards out. You're going to glue it together, press it out so you don't have any wrinkles and everything's one nice solid piece. Get you a freestanding sign and some hot glue. Center it and press it down. This card is probably a 5x7. It may be bigger than that. So you just want to be sure you have a sign that stands. I got mine on clearance at Kirkland's a few years ago. We're going to do a little haunted house block. This is some Canyon Black satin paint. I'm going to use a piece of little scrapbook paper. And there I have a couple of books to choose from. These stickers from Dollar Tree. And this little box that I got at Goodwill, but you can use any type of little shadow box that you get from Dollar Tree. The one that I'm using is about a 6x6 square. If you want to get something similar, that's what I'm using. So I'm going to choose a paper, and since I've got bats going on pretty good bit in this bunch of projects, I think that this would be a cute option. It is a little bit bigger than my box, so I'm going to go around with the pencil, mark it, and then I'm going to use my little paper cutter and trim it off. I don't have a link for the exact paper cutter, but I will try to get you a link to something similar if you like the pendulum type paper cutter. I'm very happy with mine. Okay, using that glue stick, I'm going all over the flat back part of this little box. And I'm going to put my paper down. This is like a cardstock. It's kind of, it's thicker than regular paper. You know, craft paper. So I'm going to press it down nice and flat, and it fits fairly well on there. My sticker pack did not come with a moon, and I really want a moon on my scenery, so I'm just going to take some of these Dollar General stickers that I got for like 90% off one year, and I've had them forever. I'm going to use those by painting them and then putting them by the fan so they can dry. And while that's happening, I'm going around the edges and roughing up the edges. It's just more of a rustic look, and it is gonna kind of burnish that down for the next step. Alright, I'm taking an artist pencil, but you can use any pencil that you want, and I'm just laying the side of the pencil lid down to give some shadowing on here, and just going around the edges to give this an older, more aged and rustic look. Gives it kind of a spooky look on the edges, if that's even a thing. It is now. That's a spooky look. We're going to call that a spooky look. Okay, so I'm going to take my little glittery haunted mansion and I'm going to put it down. I'm not sticking it all the way down till I know where I want it. Got a little witch that's glittery. I'm going to put her up there in the top in the sky. I know I want her in the sky. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to press those down. And they have the little foam stickers on the back too, so they stand up just a little. Gotta have more bats, right? You can never have too many bats. So I'm going to color some more, again with that same furniture marker. It took me several days to do all these projects, y'all, but I had a blast. I had my scary podcast going and then music sometimes, and I was having myself a blast. Now, it looks like there was an explosion in my craft room right now, but hey, I had fun, and I've got so much more to show you. I cannot wait to show you more. So the same little technique, going around the edges of that moon after it's nice and dry with the pencil, and then just kind of rubbing that edges out to kind of give it a dirty, aged look, I guess. Oh, I love it. I love the way this looks. Okay, so far so good. Now we want to put our little bats in flight up there. And I like them hanging over the edges like that. But you know what? It's missing something. Why don't we put a jack-o'-lantern in there? And I think I'll do white. And I'm just going to take some white chalk paint and quickly go over this. I'm kind of using a dry brush. I'm not putting a heavy amount there. Let it dry, and then once it's dry, I'm going to start shading it with a pencil as well. I'm going to shade where it would have its little stalk naturally growing, its little vine top. I'm just lightly coloring in a little bit there, and I'll take my thumb and just rub it into that chalk paint, and it will just smear so nicely and gives it such a nice little shadow. I'm going to go around in the eyes just a little bit. Darken those up, and yeah, I made a boo-boo there, but that's okay because I'm going to put some ribs on the pumpkin, so it won't even matter. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to blend those in a little bit. Isn't he cute? Oh my goodness, he's cute. Okay, so we're going to put him down here. It already has one sticker, but I'm going to add one more right on top of it so that it really stands out, because the pumpkin is so much bigger. It's not in proportion, so we want it to look like it's standing out further than the castle. Like you're going to pass it going down the road before you even get to that castle or that mansion, whichever way you want to call it. So actually I have 3 layers. It's really standing out there. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next project. We're going to use some of these little felt banner pieces. I've got some ribbons, 2 different colored fabrics, and 2 of these monogram pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. You can see here, doesn't matter which letter you get because it's going to be covered up. Tear off your bows. And I'm going to show you how you can separate this. This is my little metal ruler that I got from Dollar Tree, and I use this thing for so many things. If you slip this underneath there, you can gently pry apart the 2 layers. So you're going to pull upward a little bit, go around the edges, because it's only held there by glue. There are no nails. You can see the glue there. And we're going to do the bat pumpkin. We're going to have 2 projects, 1 with each pumpkin. Okay, so you can see there's some weird damage over there on the left side of that pumpkin. I don't know what that was, but I bought it that way because I knew it wouldn't matter. I'm going to use my Mod Podge, give this a good thick coat all over this pumpkin, even on those little edges and around the stem. And then I'm going to lay down my fabric. Now, you can get fabric at Dollar Tree. You can get fabric at Walmart. You can use an old shirt. You can use an old dress, maybe from one of your children. You can use any type of fabric you want. A napkin, you know, like a cloth napkin. Mine did come from Goodwill. And then I'm going to put on a thick layer of this Mod Podge. The reason we're sealing this in a thick layer of Mod Podge is because it will get hard and it's going to be so much easier to cut and to sand. I tried to sand down that S and it was a disaster, so I don't recommend that. Go over it instead with some white chalk paint. And that's what I've done here. It's thicker than regular acrylic paint. You could use spray paint if you wanted to, but you're going to put a good thick coat on there and then make sure that it dries thoroughly. While that is drying, we're going to go on to the next pumpkin. We're going to mix 2 different color paints here to try to match the color of the pumpkin that we have. I didn't do a perfect job with this, but close enough. I just felt like I needed to cover up those spots that are down there on that pumpkin. You don't have to do this because you're going to be covering it back up, but I did have a little bit of that was peeking out from underneath where that second layer was going to go, and I did not want that to show. So just go ahead and do this, but you can skip this part if you didn't tear yours like I tore mine. So for the center section, we're going to use the black fabric. Just going to cut off only what I need so I can save the rest of the fabric for another project. And we're going to put this down with a little bit of hot glue, protecting our fingers first, of course. You're going to put the hot glue around the edges and then fold it over. I'm going to do this all the way around the sides first, and then around the curves in the top. And then that top is finished off, and then around the bottom. Now I'm going to take the little ghost that I've picked here, and some of these will easily come off, so I'm just kind of removing the black eyes and the face because it looked like a scary face, and that's not what I'm going for in my projects. So it did take a whole day for this to dry, but once it's dry, you can just easily take your scissors and cut it like paper. Look how easy this comes off. Or you can use your little cutting knife, whatever you choose. But it is so thick and strong now that this heavy grit paper is filing it off like it's regular paper. Perfect. I love it. Now I'm going to add back the center section. You can a little bit still see that S under there, but it's not that big of a deal, and it's going to be covered. So you could use a second second coat of paint and let that dry if you'd like, but I'm good with this. We're going to have a little bat right on top, and you won't even be able to see. Don't worry about the holes. We're going to fix that. So I'm just going to put my little felt bat at an angle here. And then I'm going to glue around his little ears and the top of his head, any place that may be trying to come away. And go ahead and secure those down. Just put the tiniest little dots under there. I love my glue gun. So I'm going to use this glass writer, which I use for so many things that are not glass, and that is wonderful. It came from Dollar Tree. I'm going to fill in the holes where the ribbon went through for the banner when it was a little garland. Now I'm going to use a little bit of this silver to just give him some little eyes. I don't want him to have big white eyes, just a little hint of an eye. Wow, I sounded like Bob Ross, didn't I? Okay, so there we go. You can see his little eyes. And we're going to put this other pumpkin back together. He's going to be our ghost pumpkin. Gonna go over here. Excuse my head. And we're gonna put this little ghost down on here. Hot glue. Fix him right to the center. Just like that. Pressing it down. Now we've got to give him a face though, right? He needs a friendly face, just like the little bat. So I'm just going to make a smile. I'm going to use the original holes from the hanger as his eyes. And I'm going to draw him a U-shaped smile with the little dash right beside it. Now he's happy like the bat. Okay, I think to make them even cuter, we're going to put some messy bows on top. Go ahead and use any type of bow you have. I'm going to just run through this little messy bow. These are 6-inch pieces that I'm using of different types of ribbon. None of them have wire. They don't need wire, so this is perfect if you have unwired thin ribbons laying around from maybe other projects. You can just stack those together. I'm going to make the first bow to coordinate with the pumpkin, and then we'll make a different color to go with the other pumpkin. It's going to look like this. I'm just going to tie it with another piece of the black ribbon, and then that way we don't even have to cut that off. It will be incorporated into the bow. So I'm just going to try to get close to my center, tie that tightly in a double knot, and then that's kind of what our bow is going to look like. You can go ahead and either dovetail your ends if that's the look that you like. You can cut them at a slant. You can leave them straight across. You can make little points. Do whatever you want to do on this, but I love doing it this way. And then the thin ribbons don't need any type of trimming on them, except trying to make them even, which is what I've done here. Folded them in the center, gathered them up, and just trimmed off the edge. And then this is what we have. I love adding that little jute in there. Just gives it a little more of a rustic look, and I'm all about that rustic life. All right, now see, isn't that cute? That's gonna look perfect. I used ribbons I already had, but the little checked ribbon is a ribbon that I got this year from Dollar Tree. Love that. It's a dark orange and it matches the pumpkin. Now the orange on this pumpkin is a little bit brighter, so we're gonna change it up a bit. I'm gonna use a brighter ribbon, and then I'm going to take some of the orange, some of the black, and some of the white. And then of course, we're gonna use a little more of a jute that we used in the other one. Doesn't really matter how you put these together. I just like to alternate. And then the 3 pieces of the jute on top. I'm gonna take a little orange scrap that I already had. We're gonna double knot that. We're gonna fold it over, grab our edges, trim them off, and then there you go. Right above that second layer, I'm gonna add the bow on here. And glue my finger down apparently. That's why you should be protecting your fingers, and I didn't do it this time. Shame on me. Okay, so there we go. Cute. This is number 10, and if you're still here, please leave me a jack-o'-lantern. This thing is so cute. All right, so I'm gonna use the thrifted little stand. I'm going to use some spray paint to give it a good coat of paint. I'm gonna use some of these vase filler pieces from Dollar Tree. You can get raffia at Dollar Tree. I'm gonna use a couple of different colors. I'm going to use some scrap pieces of fluorofoam, and I'm going to use some of those wire cutters. I'm going to stuff the inside of my little cauldron, and you can get these at Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to stuff it with some scrap pieces of fluorofoam. This is just to fill it up so we have something to set our piece of paper on the top. I've taken a piece of paper, filled it straight in the top. It goes right down that lip and sits on top of the foam. Now we're going to start making the insides of whatever it is this witch has cooked up. So we're going to use black and orange bubbles. You can use any color you want, but I like black and orange and white, so that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to add dots of glue and put these down. You try to use a cool temp if you have a cool temp on your glue gun. Mine has 2 different temperatures because these are foam and they can melt, so just be very careful. And you see that one stuck to my finger protector and came right off. Look at that, what a mess. You're going to keep adding. I'm just kind of going around and looking at the size of the holes and the shape and the color, and just adding in where I need to add in. So you can see there I'm adding in little ones and big ones, just going around and around the top until the top is completely finished. You could definitely leave those little glue strings on there if you wanted to. Might give it a little extra creepy look. So there's the top of it so far. Here is our dried painted base. Love it. Very cute. Now we're going to use a wood circle to be the base of what we're doing next. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this straw, and I'm going to almost like roll it into a nest, because this is going to be like the base of our fire. We're going to have a fire because we got to have something cooking in that pot, right? Got to have it cooking in that cauldron. So I'm going to take some glue, take that spool that I have wound up there, place it down, and then I'm going to cut around it. It's easier for me to do it this way. You could certainly just go ahead and put that straight on the top of the little base riser that we have, but I didn't want to quite do it that way. I don't know why this particular raffia has knots in it. Just work around it. Now you're going to take this and wrap it around your 4 fingers. Just wrap it around there a whole bunch of times. Slide it off. And then you're going to cut it. And when you cut it, you got 2 different sides here. Just like this. And this is going to be like our fire. Nice. So now you got to tie it together and get you another piece of that raffia. I should have done that before I cut it, but I didn't. Just to show you it can be done. Go ahead and tie it in the middle so that nothing comes apart. Now, the darker the color, the closer to the bottom of the fire it should be, right? If you've ever looked at flames, that's kind of how it looks. I'm going to put my red on the bottom. This is like a dark orange, actually. I'm going to just glue it right in the center. It kind of looks like flames coming up, right? Now this is what I should have done the first time. Wrap it around your hand, get your loops, get another piece, tie it. Then you're gonna put your thumb on the knot, pull it up, cut it. Now you've got your orange layer. You can just trim that down, however you want to trim it, and put it across and inside the darker color one. Needs to be a little shorter, trim it up, easy, easy. I'm gonna put some glue there and just put it across or on top of the darker color there. It's almost like an X, but it doesn't matter. You can do it however you want, but this will keep it from being too bulky in the center. I'm pressing down really, really hard there to make sure that that glue goes all the way through to the base. Now we're ready to set the cauldron down. It fits perfectly down in there. So now we can go ahead and put it on the top of our little pedestal. Okay, now how's that? Pretty cool. It's so cute. I love this. Okay, so now I'm going to take my glue gun and start putting bubbles over the side so it is bubbling down into the fire. You might want to use the smaller bubbles as you go down, but you don't have to. You can do this any way that you want to. I'm going to go back in and add things to the top. Add things around the side. I'm just tilting it here so that you can see a little bit better what it is that I am doing. I could have cut all this out in editing, but I know some people need to see the details, so I'm just showing you how I kind of twist these and turn them and how I add these in. Be sure that you kind of alternate your colors. You can use some orange, you can use some black. It's going to give it some depth and some interest. And I'm just going all the way down and even onto the base there. So it is bubbled out and is spilled onto the base. You can also, if you run out of the small ones like I did, you can take some of the larger ones and just cut them with scissors and just glue that foam part straight down. And I think I left a part of that in there to show you how I do it. Let's see, do I? I think I do. So here I'm just cutting, and then you can just put that down and it gives it a little bit of a smaller bubble, just like that. So you want to continue on. If you have enough and you want to go all the way down, you certainly can, but I wanted to stop right here on the base. Oh my gosh, I love this. But if we've got bubbles, we need smoke, right? So to signify steam or smoke or a witchy spell coming out of here, I'm going to make some curls out of one piece of my pipe cleaners. You can see I just made little twists around a piece of stick that I have there, and I'm just going to poke these down in the empty spots for Halloween. Tell me, which ones of these do you plan on making? Do you have the supplies already in your house to make some of these? I know some of these were from fall items and some of these were thrifted. I hope that you do try some of these. If you enjoy budget-friendly DIYs, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around. Thanks to the ones of you who keep coming back to see my videos and making sweet comments. I appreciate you so much. Okay, on to the next one. We're going to use some clings from Dollar Tree. I've got some of these little thrifted and dollar spot wooden pumpkins. They're also adhesive on the back. I've got some wood cutouts from Dollar Tree. Some of these trim stickers from Dollar Tree. This is a thrifted pack of paper, so you use whatever kind you like. And then on the other side, I'm going to use some of these tiles. I got these at the thrift store. I'm going to take a Dollar Tree sign. Here you go. You can find these in any pattern that you like, but I found that the plaid or the checked one is going to be a little more versatile for what I want. I'm also going to use the little glue dots or the little Velcro dots again for this project. And I've chosen this paper with the spider ribs on it. I think The dimensions of this paper happen to be pretty good, except we're going to trim down a little bit on the end. So I've just marked it with a pencil. I'm going to use my ruler to get a straight line here. I'm going to mark it, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. Trimmy, trim, trim. All right. We're going to save our scrap, of course, because what are we? We're crafters, and we're thrifty crafters. Now, I know this is the right size, so I'm just going to lay this down, use my little cutting tool from Dollar Tree, go right over the top of that cork to cut out another piece. And we're cutting out the fall side. So we've already got our Halloween backing, and we're cutting out our fall backing. And look how easily this just snaps off. Perfect. You can get your cork paper, it is already adhesive at the Dollar Tree. You can look and find it in the Crafter Square, I do believe. Now, since my cardstock is a little thin and I want to have a little more dimension, I'm just using a scrap of this foam board that I already had. You can see I've done many projects on this board. And then I'm going to just cut out that rectangle and use my glue stick and place that glue all the way around, especially, around the edges and corners. We want it to be even. My lines are not exactly straight here, and that's okay because I've got something else I'm going to do that's going to make it look a little less noticeable. So here's the back, and I'm just going to use my sanding block and just sand down that cork a little bit to make my lines nice and straight, just like that, and that's perfect. I'm definitely going to have to work with this cork a little bit more on further projects because I'm really liking it. Love the texture of it. So we have our Halloween and our fall sides. Now, we're going to go back to the Halloween side and decide what we want to do here to decorate this piece. I know I love these little spooky ghost signs. It's so cute. It doesn't look spooky at all, which is the best part. And I'm just choosing the one that has what I think is the best surface. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of a dry brush. It's a really light brush, I guess you would say. This is my linen white chalk paint. I'm just going to dab it in the paint on the lid there, and then on the paper towel, and then brushing up and down lightly and quickly all over the little sign. But I will set it aside and let it do its thing while we work on the background. So I'm deciding which one of these I want to use, and I think the thinner one is going to be the better one. Since the little cutout is so thick and so it's going to take up so much room here, we're just going to use these to trim this out. So we're going to go up here and trim out the bottom. What I'm doing is just eyeballing so that I know it's got a sticker or clear backing on it, so you can go over your edge just a little bit. So I'm just very slowly eyeballing it, and then I'm pressing it down and not pressing on the area that's overhanging the edge. It's going to give it, you can see there, it gives it a trim beyond the paper, an edge beyond the paper, I guess you could say. And that's what I wanted to do because I want to mask the fact that we have some edges that are not exactly even. I'm going to go down here and do the same exact thing. You can cut these, and you can remove any little pieces of beading that you want to. So since I already had those really thick beads on the end, I'm just going to cut out that thickest bead and then start with the thinner section. But this makes a nice fit, and I think it makes it look like it's one piece, and I like that. Doing the same thing here and putting it down on this edge. Probably too much conversation and too much talk about trim work, right? But just so you can understand my insanity. There we go. See there? It goes over the edges, and it almost looks like a different edge. I'm going to take my black furniture repair marker. Use whatever you have. You can even use chalkboard paint here. And I'm going to color over all of the white. There we go. We're almost done. And there we go. We're going to use these foam squares, which can be trimmed up to any size you like. You can see me doing that here. You can use foam dots, whatever you have. You can definitely get this sort of thing at Dollar Tree. I already had these in my stash. I'm going to put these pieces on the thickest parts of here so that you don't necessarily see it. It's not going to stick out. It's going to be invisible in the back. You can trim these down any way you want to. You can use something else, but to me this works great. I love these little sticky squares. Alright, I'm just finding my space here and then pressing it down when it's in the right spot. And you can see that the top of the ghost head and the bottom of the letters do overlap. So you know what's going on there. Okay, now we're going to work on the fall side. So I'm just trying to decide which one I want, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I can combine these. So I'm going to use my pumpkin tag from the bottom, or my little pumpkin adhesive, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to cut down a piece of cardboard paper because it's sheer, and I want to be able to make it look white. So I'm going to use a scrap of this cardboard or poster board and put this on here. I'm going to use my little tool, which also, by the way, came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm very happy with it. It fits nicely in my little hands, and it works great for what I use it for. Trim this out without cutting off your line. I did kind of bump my corners a little bit, but I don't think it's that noticeable. We all know how to cut. You certainly can use a cutting board or whatever cutting tool you prefer. A little rotary blade. So, I know I want to put this on the bottom, and I know I want to add some pumpkins to it. We want to make this a pumpkin patch. So, I'm going to use a whole bunch of these dots. These actually came with the cork board. So I'm going to use these to see how they work. And I'm going to layer these up 3 high. So right now we have 1 to put the pumpkins behind it. So I'm going to make it 3 thick. Now this is going to give us enough space that we can tuck in those little wooden stickers. Just like that. So right now nothing is pressed down. I'm trying to get my placement. Decide what colors and what shapes I won't wear. So that's what I'm doing. You can use the little cardstock. You can use any type of regular stickers. You can do some cutouts. You can do anything you like. All right, so now we have to find some way to stick our 2 signs down on the little Dollar Tree sign back there. And we're going to use the glue dots. Now, again, we're going to make sure that the prickly side is down. That's going to go down first. Okay, I've already got my pieces together, prickly side down, and the soft side is facing upward. And then you're going to position it in the center, and then you can press it down. Now the reason we had the prickly side down is because the soft side is going to be on the spooky side and on the fall side, and we want it to be able to stick down to the original 4 that are already on the sign. That's how we're going to remove them and make them interchangeable. You can take this off. I'm just securing my corners to make sure nothing comes loose, and it worked great. And then here we are with our fall sign. What do you think? Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. I'm going to use this little squatty candle stand. I'm going to use a Halloween sign from Target and a pumpkin patch sign from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to use some of these ornaments from Dollar Tree. I've got some picks from Dollar Tree. These are just some little random pieces of sticks and bobs from my collection. And then I'm going to use 3 of these, whatever these are, fall rounds with leaves on them. I've cut my floral foam ball in half, and I'm putting it right in the center. I'm going to take my first ring and put it down. I'm going to push my leaves outward as much as possible. Make sure that it's nice and even. We're not gluing this down. You don't even have to glue it. You can change it for another time. Now we've got to find some way to put our signs down in here. I'm going to use this little stick. You can use a popsicle stick, anything you want to use to make a standing or a pick sign out of these signs. I'm going to use scrap of ribbon from a project we did earlier. I'm going to cut these pieces off because we're going to need a little extra something to hold this down to secure it. I'm going to use my glue gun, press this down, try to get it centered because I did not have it centered the first time. I'm going to put a little glue over the top and then a little piece of this ribbon. If you don't have scraps of ribbon, you can use a piece of scrap paper that you have to help hold it in place. And there you go. Welcome to our haunted house. I'm going to work on this one. Because this sign is heavier, I'm going to use a dowel rod, little piece that I have here. I think it came in a popsicle or cake pop kit or something like that. You got to think outside the box. Set it aside, let that glue set up nicely. We're going to start with our Halloween side first. You can take the little hangers off of these balls here And there's glittery ones, there's shiny ones, and the matte. I decided to use the matte. These little sticks will fit down in here. Make sure that you find the right sticks to fit in there. Clip them down if you want to. And then you're going to be hot gluing them, of course. For the next ring, we're going to cut an inch section out, remove it, overlap it about 1/2 inch, and then we're going to have our next layer. You're going to press those together, and you're just going to hold them there, and you can clamp them down just like that until the glue sets up. It'll kind of melt, it'll kind of, you know, do its thing, and you'll have a different diameter to go on top, so you can stack it on top. All right, so here we are stacking the next one. So now you can see that it's kind of tiered. And again, we're not gluing that. We're not going to glue that down. It's not necessary. For the third one, we're going to use pieces. We're going to cut them off, and we're going to just hot glue around the top until it's almost completely covered. As you can see here, part of my footage did not make it, but you get the idea. You're gluing it down just like that. A little hot glue on the back and putting it down just like that. You don't want to press it flat. We want to leave a little height in there. Then we're going to press our pick down in there, and you can start using some of these little ornament picks that we made. You can just press them down wherever you like. You can press them under your layers if you want, but I just wanted to add the decorative pieces mainly on the top because it makes it easier to be removed, because we are going to be taking these out to change it over to our fall version. I'm going to do some in the back too to cover it up. If you want to use something to cover up your ribbon back there, you can certainly do that. You can paint the back. You can add another piece of paper on the top of it, but just you know, for your finished look, you need to do that. But I was just trying to get this project done for you to give you the idea. So there you go. And also, I wanted to add, if you're going to use glue, use a little bit of glue on your little decorative pieces that you add. Just a little bit, because you're going to want to remove them. This is what that is going to look like, if you can see it like that. And then we're going to pull it apart. So here we go. Taking out all the excess, leaving our basic bottom there. So we still have our foam, and we still have all of our leaves are still on there. Now we're going to go and add the fall pick. Going to press that down there, try to make it kind of flat onto the leaves, and start adding in some simple greenery. The greenery does not have to be glued, and if you do glue it, you want to use a tiny bit of glue, not much at all. These are just some scrap pieces that I had left over. You can certainly do something that's a little more symmetrical if you choose. I'm going to use little orange pieces, and I have a little, just a little random, I think it's a mom. We're going to start with this pumpkin from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use a little bit of pumpkin orange Waverly chalk paint that came from Plaid. Thank you very much, Plaid. I'm going to put a few drops in here because I want to muddy up this orange paint and give it a more realistic looking dirty pumpkin look. And so when I get it the color I like, just like this, I'm going to start brushing it on there. It's just a more natural color, I think, than the one that was already on the pumpkin. And it's going to match the fabric that we're using. Much better. 2 coats of that and let it dry. And then I'm going to take the medium size embroidery hoop and this beautiful cat fabric. And I'm going to use this little kitty. There's a bunch of seams on here. It is wrinkled, but you can see in just a moment how to get the wrinkles out. Just like we said before, pull a little bit, press down, pull. Then you're going to tighten that screw up. We're going to cut it out. So you're going to go all the way around it. And you see it's going to eventually live in the middle of the pumpkin. I'm going to go ahead and use a paint pen for this. I'm using this paint pen or paint marker to go around the edge of this because I have finally had to say goodbye to my black marker. I used all the ink out of my repair marker. Now go all the way around the edges, and you can either go around the edges with that on the sides with that, or you can go use a little bit of paint. And I did use paint, but you won't see that on the camera. It's just a very dark, I think it's called pavement. Now I'm going to use a wet wipe. Use whatever brand, whatever kind you like. I mean, I think they all pretty much work the same way. I'm just using one I had. And you're going to put a little bit of wax on there, and we're going to make some curves. We're going to add dimension to this pumpkin. because I don't want the cartoonish look that we had before. And you can see just by going over the curves, just by fanning it out on the ends and going around the edges, that pumpkin looks so much better. Oh yeah, I did paint that stem that brown also, I forgot. To make a pick on the top, we're going to spray paint that little stem black. Here's my little finish centerpiece. While our pick is drying, we're going to embellish. A little bit of glue, we're going to put this down. You can glue this any way you want to. You can put it all the way around the rim, or you can just do a couple little dots like I did. Whatever you want to do. Then I have these. They were from way back in the scrapbook days. I'm surprised they still are sticky, but they are. You don't have to use stickers. If you don't have something like this, I chose this because it matches the print. You can see in the print over there behind the pumpkin that it has the kind of viney look. So that's why I chose it. But you can use a pen and freehand this. It's very easy to do this. Or, you know, you could possibly find these stickers. I love that you can add your own little pieces here to get your own little style. And that was really fun to me. And they're a little bit glittery, so that's nice. And I did go around with my paint pen and bump the edges intentionally to make it look a little more rustic, because there's like a little rustic look in the background of that cat fabric. So I did do that. Now after these are nice and dry, be sure they're dry, I'm just going to cut them off the big pick, and I'm going to crisscross them over in the middle. Just no particular way, just as long as there's equal amount each side. Another zip tie is how we're going to close it off. Going to seal these together nicely right in the center, and then clip off the excess. All right, so now I know I want to add some greenery to my little stem pieces here. And I had some of this black left from our witch projects, and I want to use those definitely on here. We're going to just crisscross the stems on the bottom. I pulled this off of a piece that came from a different project we did. And then I'm going to zip tie that together. So I've got the beautiful colors that coordinate with what's going on in our cat fabric. Love that. And I'm just going to spread those out a little bit. And I'm going to take some of the darker leaves that fell off of something else I had. You know how it goes if you craft. Then you're just going to keep adding until you get it the way you want it to look in the middle. And then again with a dollop of glue, I'm going to put this off to the side. I do not want to cover up my stem or anything else. We're going to let it dry completely. Then I'm going to take this little wooden spider. He's from a sticker from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to add him right on the leaves in the top. And then you can use a hanger on the back. You can do this or hang it any way that you like to hang it. You can put Jenga blocks on the back and make it a stander if you want to. It could be a standing sign. All right, so we're going to use some Mod Podge for this project. This is I think this came from Dollar Tree. It doesn't have a sticker on. And then this scarf that I had used in the other project, this is when I had actually cut it down and then used what I needed on the candle, and then the rest of it was used in the sign. So I got one ahead of the other, but you know, you get the point. You're going to cut off as much as you need to use here. Leave yourself a little excess. Get your alcohol and your paper towels. Clean this up really well. Then I'm going to take some of that Mod Podge and I'm going to put it in on one little section and decide how I want my base to lay, or my hurricane, or whatever you want to call this. And I'm trying to line the bottom of it up with the edge on the bottom with the trim from the fabric. So you can see down there on the bottom that I'm trying to line it up there. Now this is you're going to have to take some time and be patient and just give yourself some grace, because you're going to have to finagle this around to get those lines and stripes to stay straight, or you will have crooked waves all over the place. It took me some time, and I'll just be honest about that right now. I edited a lot of that out, so you didn't have to see that kind of a struggle, but you can still see what I'm doing here. I'm having to pull it and press it out, add a little bit of glue, pull it, press it out, add some glue, and when I get it exactly how I want it, I'll go ahead and put that top coat on there. It'll dry pretty hard. The excess is not going to have any glue on it. It'll be trimmed off later, so I'm just going to tuck it in on the top. I'm going to add a little extra glue here on the side where they overlap, and then continue to trim off the excess, because I don't want it to look bulky and, you know, just nasty in the back. I want it to look high end, like I always say. So here it is, dry, hard as a rock. I'm going to go around and trim the top, leaving just a little bit of a lip. You can use a glue stick, you can use double-sided tape, or you can just fold it under. Whatever type of glue you want to use, you can use. You can even use some more Mod Podge to get that top down if you would like. So now the fun part. I'm going to embellish it with some stickers. I'm going to start by putting the center P from Happy in what I think is the center of the vase. And then we'll do the same thing with Halloween. And it helps to have the lines because it kind of gives me an idea of, where it should be placed. I'm just pressing those out. And these are kind of felt. They feel like felt. So they're real pliable and easy to use here. Then I'm just going to go down the side too and press them down in place. And then this is how it's going to look. And we're going to add a candle to it. And I'll show you how that looks. And this is just a little LED. Is an easy treat jar. This is so simple. So I've got a jar of candy corn or harvest mix. I'm going to take one of these little jelly jars. I think it's, what is this, a pint maybe? 1 cup size. I'm going to have the ring in the top for that. I'm going to take one of these rub-ons from Dollar Tree. And then a scrap of fabric, and I have a variety over there. I'm going to clean our glass up really well with the alcohol and paper towels. This is going to help your little transfer to stay on there. And I've used these transfers from Dollar Tree for so many things. It came off so easy. Be sure that you hold it still so you don't pull anything, before it's down there, before the whole thing is down, or you will tear it. Okay, so once it's all rubbed down, this is how it's going to look. And it came out really nice. So I've spray painted that ring and let it dry. The seal doesn't have to be spray painted because it's going to be covered up by the fabric. I've put the candy down in the jar. And I've chosen this polka dot fabric that I used on something else. When you screw the lid on, it's going to look like this. Then you can trim it off. I did trim it twice to make sure I got it nice and short so you could see my little transfer. And this is how it looks.
Click the box below for more.